We will open it up and take some questions later in the conference call. There's a few ways that you can put your questions through. You can use the chat feature. For those using the web interface, you can use the chat feature. As well, you can send an email to businessinfo@cityssm.on.ca. And also we'll allow people to open up their microphones and *6 again to unmute your microphones to ask questions that way if you're dialing in. We've got a jam-packed agenda here this morning with a number of folks that will provide updates. I'm sure as everyone is aware, the situation continues to evolve, and there's new updates and new details being released from both levels of government. The federal and provincial government have some new programs that they've recently announced, and we're going to do a little recap of those programs for you today. We again have a number of different speakers on the line here today, and so without further ado, let's get right into the program this morning. First up, our MP Terry Sheehan was available to join the call this morning. He does have a conference call in not too long, so we were going to have Terry speak first and just provide an update from the federal government side. We will take just a few questions for Terry before he has to leave for a conference call at the end. And then if there are additional questions, certainly we will receive those questions and forward them on to Terry as we've done in the past. So at this point, Terry, if you're on the line, would you be able to unmute your microphone and speak?
Hello, Tom. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Great. Thanks, Terry.
Oh, Tom. Well, thank you very much. And before I begin, I just wanted to thank you, Tom, and the rest of your team at the City of Sault Ste. Marie for putting together these important calls. Last week, I joined in between a couple of conference calls and was able to hear some great comments. And Tom, I appreciate you feeding back to me the questions and the comments that you have received, and us sending back information to you. But I wanted to take the opportunity today to engage with the folks on the line. Many of you I've spoke to on the phone. My staff has spoken to many with you. We've been emailing back and forth. So keep that coming. My commitment is to continue to get back to people. I've spoken with many people. We're working around the clock on a number of issues related to supporting the healthcare system here in Sault Ste. Marie in Canada. You've seen a lot of the releases around that as we do make every effort to continue to flatten, plank the curve. As you know, we need to protect our critical infrastructures like the hospital and our seniors' homes, to name a few. Now, I'm not going to delve too much into those other areas. I'm going to speak more specifically to, of course, what we're doing with to support the economy and businesses here in Sault Ste. Marie in Canada. As you are all aware, when the coronavirus crisis began, we immediately took action, and we used the tools that were in our toolbox that were at our disposal quickly, and we did that through existing legislation and laws. I'm not going to review them. You guys have extensively went through them. However, again, they are on the website, and I invite people to continue to go to our website, canada.ca/economic-response-plan, or just go to canada.ca coronavirus, and the city's website is linked to it. So using all those tools and resources, we were able to put some plans in place immediately. But we recognize, and in particular, where this is salient on this call, that just throughout the history of Canada and in most countries, there wasn't entrepreneurs and business folks weren't eligible for employment insurance. So we recognized that there was over 5 million people that were in that situation. So we recalled Parliament for an emergency sitting and put together a number of measures, including the Emergency Response Fund, which is going to be up and available as of April 6th, so this Monday. So part of this call, I want to bring to your attention that you should go online to the website that I told you, read through it, and get yourself ready by creating and opening an account, because many of you, will be brand new to you and your people that are involved in your business that weren't eligible for unemployment insurance. So this intention is to cover off a lot of you folks that are affected by the coronavirus. It's a $2,000 a month amount of money. It's retroactive back to March 15th or 16th. I don't have everything in front of me, but again, the details are on there. So it's around the 15th, so there's retroactivity. And that will be available. So you need to go in and open up an account with a CRA and also put in your banking information now and get yourself ready, because next week it will open up. My understanding is it will probably be done in an alphabetical way. The system, since we have announced it, has been utilized. Just the regular EI system, there are millions and millions of folks that are applying and are we're in the process. Those people are going to be converted to this new emergency fund. So it is simple, and we've tried to cut down the red tape in this. So, this would apply to your employees too, that are disrupted because they cannot work. They're eligible for that $2,000. You don't have to lay them off. There is sort of a questionnaire, if you will, for lack of better terms, that you'll go through. They're going to ask you a number of qualifying questions, and you respond to them in kind. And our goal is to get the money out the door as quickly as possible. So that is coming up. And again, I just remind you to, now and over the next few days to go online and register an account, get your banking information on there. There are a number of people that will be doing, the minister was on a news conference yesterday and saying that, they're talking about 2 million folks that are already in the system. We're clearing about 400,000 a day. So it's working. We're going to continue to address any glitches that are happening and any issues. So there is that. So that's important to recognize today. And the second part that I'm sure most of you had seen was some new announcements that we have made, in particular around the subsidy for those businesses that have been affected and have lost revenue because of the coronavirus. So the wage subsidy is this is a perfect example of how we have been responsive. We heard a lot of you saying that the 10% subsidy wasn't enough, that it wasn't addressing your issues. And I appreciate those interactions with you and my staff. I advocated to my minister and the parliamentary secretary, to the Minister of Economic Development, FedNor, and to her, to the Prime Minister, and to the Minister of Finance, to say that there is more support needed, in particular for these businesses that were struggling, that are trying to continue to operate. So the details of that, there's a 75% support for businesses that have been hit the hardest by the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's we created it by looking at some other models around the world. So the subsidy will cover 75% of employers' wages. It's for employers of all sizes across all sectors, including not-for-profit charities who had suffered, a drop in gross revenue of at least 30%. So the subsidy will provide $847 per employee per week between March 15th to June 6th. So it'll help with the employers to keep staff on payroll, but also to rehire some folks that you might have had to let go because of the situation that you can bring on. What we are asking is that employers kick in the 25% to the best of their ability, and to compensate them. So we are looking at a number of them. I'm not going to go through all the details. It is online, and I recognize that each and every business is different and has a unique situation because of either personal reasons or because of a reason why you organized your business, for whatever reasons you made that decision. So there's on that website, there's Q&As, there's opportunities to engage, and there is also a phone number for people to call when they're looking at exceptional circumstances. So we'll do that, and we'll work through that. On just this wage subsidy, there was a lot of people who were communicating with me, that the 10% wasn't enough, that we had to go to 75%. Other businesses had indicated, because this was originally targeted at the small businesses, there was a $15 million threshold, and I know some of you have contacted me and my staff to say, that you still needed help to continue to provide the necessary services that are making our great city and our great country working. So we've made it for all sizes now. So we got rid of that eligibility requirements. And also it's available for the not-for-profit sector as well. And we are also looking at other areas where we can. So Parliament is going to be recalled again in emergency setting. And a bunch of these programs will be implemented through law and legislation as well. And the infrastructure is put in place. And our goal again is to put the money out. Some of the Q&As I'm getting from some people are, well, what if people fraud the system? And for us, we've cut the red tape. We want to get the money out quickly. There will be spot checks throughout the process. And I know the folks on this call will not be fraudulent. They won't cheat. These people in my community I know are good. My background in business and economic development, I know that that folks, and I don't like spending a lot of time on this, that game the system will be discovered, and there will be consequences. So, but this is some good news. Now, some of the questions that I've had already were about, okay, well, what if my business hasn't lost revenue, et cetera, et cetera. The other wage subsidy is still in play, and that's for all folks. So it is a 10% wage subsidy, but it's up to almost $1,400 or $1,375, up to $25,000 per business. Because I know that some businesses, and there's a few of them, are actually busier now, and the revenues have increased because of the necessary services that they're increasing. So those two tools I just wanted to talk about specifically today. We still have the other programming in place. Right from the beginning, during this global crisis, our decision was, number one, was that we need to stabilize the banking and financial sector, which we have, and we're working with them to continue to do that, so that you folks can reach back to your banks to work with them to make sure you meet these challenging times. Specifically, we've also deferred the GST payments, the income tax as well, with the goal of keeping money in your pockets for as long as possible. We do have the interest-free loans through the Canada Emergency Business Account, and we're offering $40 billion worth of guaranteed loans through the BDC, EDC to help cover operational costs. And we've expanded the work sharing program that folks, it was already an existing tool that, employees could do some work sharing. A shout out to everybody on the call. We have the BDC, the CDC. I know that have been, one of our federal helping arms as well. I've talked with a number of people, the Chamber, Rory Ring, the mayors in the area, and the chiefs. As you know, I'm the MP for Sault Ste. Marie, the city they're in. The riding takes in a good chunk of Algoma, and we've been working with businesses and communities in the outlying district because we're all in this together. We continue to look at all avenues of way we can support things. So, Tom, not only am I looking for questions, but I'm also looking for comments, suggestions, because we're taking it very seriously. I have a number of teleconferences every day to provide input, and if you can roll those up, Tom, and continue to send them to me, I'll continue to advocate for every single industry that we have here in Sault Ste. Marie, no matter what the size, what they're involved in. We got your backs, and we're going to do everything in our power to continue to get through this, because we know that the COVID-19 crisis will end. We just don't know when. But what we do today, I'm listening with our, the health care experts and the scientists. What we do to support each other can flatten it. We can shorten that time frame. So we're all in it together. Again, a big shout out to a whole bunch of people, and I would be remiss without making a comment from our federal workers at the Great Lakes Forestry making hand sanitizer, to all the people and the businesses that have donated personal protective equipment to our healthcare system. You guys are awesome. To other people that are stepping up to try and either scale up what they can provide for the healthcare industry and such, and other industries that are looking at retooling their businesses to provide them. There's also a website that you can go to see how you can be involved with that through the federal processes. Trudeau announced about $2 billion in funding to, again, get some more personal protective equipment and supplies for the healthcare industry. So, Tom, I've talked a lot. I just wanted to touch base, say how awesome everybody is, and everybody federally, provincially, municipally, the private sector, the public sector, in Sault Ste. Marie, you guys are doing an amazing job, and thank you for everything. So I'll open it up for some questions and comments or suggestions. Tom, please.
Great. Thanks, Terry. Much appreciated. And yes, as mentioned, Terry has a conference call, so we're just going to take a few questions now. And then if we do have more questions than we can answer in the time period, we will allow those to go to Terry, and we'll circle back with everyone with the answers. We do have some questions on the chat already, Terry. The first question from Jim Cook. Terry, do you know if either the 10% or 75% wage subsidy applies to the salary paid to the owners of a corporation?
Yeah, so those questions about the salary to the owners, I think, the structural process that we're under, I'm going to have to delve into it, because I don't want to be telling tales out of school, but there is a number of tools available, including the $2,000 a month. So if a business owner feels that they're not going to have any income, they can apply for that $2,000 if they had, I believe, about 14 days of no income. So it's going to be a combination therein. So again, Mr. Cook, thank you for the question, and I'll get more details of that specifically, because obviously some people are structured differently, whether it's a sole proprietorship operating just under their name, or they have an incorporation. So, Mr. Cook, I will get back to you, sir.
Okay. Another question, Terry, is the government considering or committing to increase the capital pool of the community futures corporations to allow them to lend out more? They are well suited to small local business supports.
I have been advocating for that, and I have brought that to the attention of Minister Melanie Joly. Actually, about 10 p.m. I was on a call talking about how we can continue to utilize places like the CFDCs and the CDCs to continue to support us now, and also as we come out of this in our recovery efforts as well. So thank you. Yes, we're advocating for that.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Do you know if there's support for landlords? Both residential and commercial landlords are not receiving revenue. The new programs don't seem to support them. Is there something coming?
Yeah, the landlord issues. So what we did right away was, and we recognized that we had to go to the banks to create some stability and liquidity, and to provide support through the banking structure. And I know that these issues are going to be important. I mean, on large issues, the reason why we struck so quickly and so hard, and why we're doing this emergency benefit to put $2,000 in per person's pocket, because it's people over the age of 15 years and older. So I was talking to a guy yesterday. So there are 3 people in his household that are eligible for that. So 2, 4, 6,000. That'll be $6,000 a month in their household, which the goal of this, quite frankly, was to put food on the table and to pay rents, and to whether it's paying a landlord that owns a business, or a personal rent or a personal mortgage. So we are doing that, and yes, we are working with banks, financial institutions, and the province, because the province has a lot to say about the relationship between landlords and tenants. But we're all in it together. Mr. Ross Romano and I talk frequently on the phone, and we're pleased to work with them. So yeah, we're going to continue to do what we have to do to continue to make sure that that landlords, whether it's private or for private business or for personal homes, are able to be compensated. And a lot of this is flowing this money out as quickly as possible so people can pay their bills.
Okay. Thanks, Terry. And then another question might be specific. Some of our team might be able to help out, or we might have to get back to this one. But the question was for businesses and nonprofits founded after April 2019. Will they still be eligible for wage subsidies even though they cannot demonstrate lost revenue compared to previous years? If so, how will they apply?
Great question. Great question. Yes, we recognize that. I have been in conversations. As you know, I've spent a lot of time at the EDC many years ago dealing with startups, and recognized that, under the criteria that we have comparing year to year. So under the existing matrix, and I'll pick on the 75% subsidy just for one, that, yeah, we're looking at, okay, you got to compare, April compared to last April, May to last May, and June to last June. So it's fluid in that way, because some people may not have a 30% reduction right now, but they may have it, next month or the month after, so they would be eligible for that subsidy. Now for startups, we are looking at doing fair comparators. So suggestions have been made to, compare things. I don't know, just a time frame. The business has been operating for under a year, for maybe 10 months. So, to pick a couple of, months prior to the COVID-19 pandemic crisis in Canada, and use those as comparable. So we are addressing that issue for sure, to look at startups and use fair comparables, for their cash flows and for how they're doing.
And another question here. The revenue for my business has not dropped 30% this month, but that will change drastically as essential business remains closed. My payroll consumes more than 50% of my revenue. Is there any flexibility on the wage subsidy program if we were looking at my current month's numbers?
Yeah, so I kind of answered a bit on the startup, but I'm going to delve into it a little bit more. So you can start, because we recognize that day-to-day things change, and that, comparing this April to March, let's say last, because this is April 2nd, comparing March to last March, you might not see that 30%, but obviously this individual with this question is recognizing that they're anticipating a 30%. So when they do achieve that 30% loss, they would be eligible for the 75%. So if that happens in April or May, right, then they would be eligible for that. So, and again, the criteria on the 75% is for existing employees that you have on the payroll, but any employee that may not be working. And you don't have to lay them off per se, they're just not working, right? So that employee then would, I'm just doing a scenario, who isn't working would be eligible for the $2,000 a month, so they're supporting themselves. Then that business wants to rehire them, they come back, they start working, then they would be eligible for that 75% because they did. And in the question, they're telling me on there that they anticipate that they're going to hit that 30%. So vis-a-vis yes, the answer is yes to that question, and when they start showing that loss of 30%, they'd be eligible. Until such time, again, I draw to your attention that the 10% wage subsidy already announced will apply to businesses, and those criteria remain the same. So there is, until such time that someone, hit that unfortunate mark of 30%, there would be, regardless of loss, there would be the eligibility for the 10% or $1,375 per person up to $25,000. So that tool could be used before you hit the 30%, in my opinion. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Terry. I know you have to get going, Terry. Did you want to say anything, or we have a couple other questions? You want to take one more before you leave, or do you have to head out now?
You know what? It's okay if I'm late. This is too important. So please keep the questions coming.
Okay. There's a comment here. There's been some confusion with some conversations I've had with some small business owners regarding how to go about applying for the emergency fund. Can you please clarify if you have to apply for an access code through Service Canada first and then set up a CRA account?
Yeah, so there is a big transition happening there. The big thing for someone to do is to go to the website, and there is more, and that website is updated frequently, so continue to go to the website. We announced that yesterday, and I was sending out the press release today, that April 6th will be available for the emergency benefit. So there are two streams. People that do not already have an account need to open up an account through CRA, and the process is defined on the website, and also to put in your banking information. Obviously, if you don't have banking information, it will be by check and you will receive it. However, that'll take a little bit more time. So the big thing is to go online, and I will provide that, again, website to you, Tom. If you could put it up there and that person can go and review it. There is a chat feature on it, and there is also a phone number that they can call as well to assist them in getting set up. For the folks that have already applied for EI, they will automatically, they don't have to do anything. The system, and we've created this massive digital / phone infrastructure, will convert them into the new benefit. So they need not do anything, save and accept, wait, and it will be converted automatically.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Terry. And for people who are following on the chat, certainly they're on our website on the City of Sault Ste. Marie site, the links to these sites. For people who are following on the chats, we have posted the links to both the wage subsidy program and the emergency response benefit. Another question, Terry, if my business has no income, the 75% does nothing for small businesses that are closed, still have to pay rent and expense. Yes,
well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that. The business is closed right now, and I hope temporarily. This is one of the challenging things, and one of the things that I recognize, and we recognize right away, that 5.7 million business owners, entrepreneurs, the people that are making our economy work, our small businesses, weren't covered under, historically ever, weren't covered under the EI system. So that person will be eligible to go online and open up an account, and will be eligible for the emergency fund of $2,000 a month, and that's per person in the household, 15 years and older, as well. So that is part of what we can do to support them. There are other measures. We recognize that we're working with the province. The province has a number of social safety net features that they've implemented as well. So the goal is to, again, get money into people's pockets. There's retroactivity to it, and it's good, for 4 months. So $8,000 for the next 4 months per person eligible within the household. So that goal is, again, to help put the food on the table and to pay rent and the mortgages and such. So, we're going to keep working through it. And anybody who ever has any suggestions, Tom, make sure that they send those into you, that you can roll up to me, because I have frequent phone calls daily. And what we're looking at is responding, and we are. And, I think again, I go back full circle, the original wage subsidy of 10%, which helped a lot of people, but a whole bunch of people said, like, especially the ones who were bleeding, that were really hurting, that they needed more help. So that's one feature. The Prime Minister has said that all options continue to be on the table, and we will continue to address and try and fill gaps as much as we can. So, again, my heartfelt, situation of that individual that's been affected to by this terrible coronavirus, and we're going to do everything to support you. So thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Maybe we'll do one last question here. The question was, are ROEs required to be issued if an employee needs to utilize the CERB?
No, because the emergency benefit, again, go online, have them register, they'll fill out their little questionnaire there, because a person you do not need to lay a person off. The person doesn't need to be fired, doesn't need whatever, laid off or whatever. They don't need an ROE, which is a return to work, right, type thing. And the reason why is that it's fluidity. So you can also keep your employees attached to your business as well, because we recognize that all these entrepreneurs and business people care about their employees, their family too. So what we will do is that person will be eligible for the $2,000 whilst they still are attached, if you will, to the business. So they don't need to give them any paperwork. So our goal was, again, to cut the red tape as much as we could, to do attestations and whatnot. There'll be spot checks to individuals every now and then, just calling to find out certain situations. But no, that individual does not need to issue any ROEs, et cetera. And so that's the good part of it.
Great, thanks, Terry. And maybe just to end, we had a comment here that says, Terry, you sound exhausted. Thanks to you and your team for all your efforts to help us get through these difficult times. Hashtag in this together SSM. So probably.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, that's ending on a high note. And you know what? You guys are amazing. Everyone on the call, our community is, come together in the past for various challenging situations. Recently, we had the 232 tariffs. It was all hands on deck. We had businesses, we had the Chamber of Commerce, we had the CDC, BDC, the city, the province, unions, non-unions, everyone pulling together, in this community recently. And, there's lots of incidences that we've done this. Here we are in it together. Thank you for that last comment. We're going to do everything that we can. I will be coming back on these phone calls. This was extremely helpful to me, Tom, to your crew. Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone's input. And we're gonna beat this virus working together. So thank you very much, and keep up your awesome work. And we will talk to all of you very soon. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Terry. Much appreciated. And excuse me, I saw a few more questions come through there at the end, so apologies, folks. What we'll do is we will, and some of our staff are answering those questions as they come up. If your question isn't answered, definitely call the business hotline, 705-574-1230, or send us an email at businessinfo@cityssm.on.ca. Again, we've got a few more speakers that are can provide some updates and information. I'm going to turn it over now to Dan Hollingsworth and Nevin Bukonjic from our Economic Development Department, just to provide an update on some of the programs and recap where we're at right now.
Well, thank you, Tom, and good morning, everybody. It's Dan Hollingsworth here. I think that was very helpful having Terry on the phone this morning to answer questions about the federal support programs. And perhaps he took a little bit of wind out of Nevin's sail this morning, but I think that was excellent information for Terry to provide. Just a quick brief here with respect to some of the activities we're doing. Daily, our entire team is participating on a variety of calls with both the provincial and federal government. to stay abreast of kind of the latest information and impacts for businesses with respect to government programmings and support mechanisms. We continue to kind of update that information daily on the city's website. As I mentioned in the last call, later in the afternoon, Nevin's doing a great job of keeping that information up to date. So I posted the website at the beginning of this conference call in the chat. So take a look at that, and certainly a good resource for the businesses in the community. And as Tom mentioned, if you do have specific questions or requirements, our number again is posted in the chat at 705-574-1230. And we have my entire team working remotely and available to answer calls if you have any questions, as well as if you have any general needs for counseling services or specific questions about your business beyond some of the government programs that are available. One other comment I'd like to make real briefly is we've had some great outreach from some of the professional advisors, the accounting and legal practices here in Sault Ste. Marie. And I strongly encourage you from our perspective at the Economic Development Corporation to reach out to your professional advisors. They are providing some great links and resources, as well as some of those firms are doing webinars. So if you are a client of one of those firms, we encourage you to speak to them and find out what's available through those professional advisors here in our community or elsewhere. Basically, on the helpline over the past week, we continue to receive a variety of calls, but mostly they are on the small business support programs, which Terry just talked about, and the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. Again, that information is posted to our website, or you can call us. One thing we are learning on the calls, and Nevin and I have been participating on calls with the federal government every morning at 11 o'clock. They are releasing information daily on the program side of it, of what announcements have been made. And it's our understanding that the federal government will be posting frequently asked questions. So a lot of these questions that are coming up on these calls will probably be posted early next week to the federal government's website. And I shared the link on the chat just a few minutes ago. Another couple things that we'll be doing over the next week in partnership with the Sault Ste. Marie Innovation Center and others. We'll start doing a series of webinars to kind of help some of our local businesses with respect to topics that we think are relevant to helping you during this time period. We're planning next Thursday afternoon a session on managing cash flow and finances. We're just putting together the complete agenda for that webinar on Thursday. It looks like it'll be Thursday afternoon, but we will get information out about that. As well with the Innovation Center, second seminar within the next week on transitioning to a remote working environment. They've got some great tools and resources that the Innovation Center has pushed out that can be quite helpful with respect to how do you manage data, how do you look at working remotely and putting those mechanisms in place for your teams. So another point too is we're reaching out to some of our colleagues because we have the Small Business Enterprise Center here with Millwork Sault Ste. Marie, Millwork Center for Entrepreneurship here at Sault Ste. Marie. We're part of a larger network across the province, and we're looking at a variety of different tools and resources available for business. So we'll start to post some of that information on the city's website as well, on other seminars and webinars that will be available to help you. A variety of great topics. We've seen some of the content that's out there, and we're going to start packaging up some of that and providing it to the business community here in Sault Ste. Marie. Finally, one thing we do want to work on, and we'd like some feedback, is with respect to a buy local, shop local campaign. Other communities are putting together websites with respect to supporting local businesses, those businesses that can remain open during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we hope to have some tool up and available within the next week or so that businesses can go on and register, provide an idea of what they offer. If it's a restaurant that has takeout, or other type services, basically how the consumers can get access to those businesses. So I think that's kind of a wrap up on that. I'll pass it over to Nevin. I know Terry talked quite a bit, Nevin, about some of the federal updates, but I don't know if there's anything on the provincial side that you want to offer.
Sure. Actually, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, Terry covered most of the federal programs, but I will go through briefly just some of the qualifiers, I guess, for each program. So he talked about the emergency response benefit, the $2,000 a month. And as far as we know, to qualify, you must have $5,000 in income or revenue in the last 12 months. Also, in regards to being an entrepreneur or business, your business doesn't have to be closed down. You just can't have income in the last 14 days. So you are available to apply for that as well. And applicants are allowed to have other investment income, just no employment income. So for example, one of the questions was an entrepreneur, the business is shut down, however, they have rental income. Does that qualify? So we did ask the question, and the feds told us that other investment income is allowed, just no employment income. The government is staggering applications for the emergency response benefit. So right on their website, they have a schedule, and I'll just go through it briefly. I don't know if they're rejecting applications if you don't fit. But, for example, if you're born in January, February, March, please apply for CERB on a Monday. The best day to apply is April 6th. If you were born in April, May, or June, apply on a Tuesday. Best day would be April 7th. July, August, or September, apply on a Wednesday. The best day would be April 8th. And October, November, or December, apply on a Thursday. The best day would be April 9th. And they'll take any applications on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So again, I'm not sure how they're going to filter that, but that's it. Moving on to the emergency business account, the interest-free loan up to $40,000 available to small business and nonprofit. So the organizations will need to demonstrate that they paid between $50,000 and $1 million in total payroll in 2019. And also repaying the balance of the loan on or before December 31st, 2022 will result in loan forgiveness of 25% up to $10,000. Moving down to the emergency wage subsidy. So again, Terry went through the details on that. However, this program is essentially a reimbursement. So the entitlement to the subsidy is based entirely on the business owner paying the salaries or wages to employees. So you'll need to demonstrate that those are paid, and then you'll get reimbursed. Moving on to the Ontario government, they have issued a number of helpful things that could help cash flow for small business. One of those is increasing the employer health tax exemption from $490,000 to $1 million, which they believe will exempt 90,000 or 90% of the private businesses in Ontario from paying any employer health tax. They have deferred all WSIB reporting and payments until August 31st. They are putting together $100 million in skills training for displaced workers. And they have a 5-month interest and penalty-free period for businesses making payments on the majority of provincially administered taxes, for example, the employer health tax, tobacco tax, and gas tax. They also released yesterday a $50 million Ontario Together Fund, which will help businesses provide innovative solutions or retool their operations in order to manufacture essential medical supplies and equipment, including gowns, coveralls, masks, face shields, testing equipment, and ventilators. As well, they are looking for innovative solutions such as virtual mental health services for vulnerable and people living in remote communities. They're looking for supply chain resiliency monitoring, financial planning and advising for small business that can be delivered online at a low cost, excuse me, and remote learning for elementary and secondary students while schools are closed. So they're actually asking any businesses that are involved in these sectors or have products or services that are innovative to reach out to the government. And if you Google this new Ontario Together Fund and find the page, you can actually submit a proposal to let them know what products or services your businesses can help with. That's it for the update.
Great, thanks, Nevin and Dan, greatly appreciated. And We're going to turn it over now to Lori Nacarado-Sarlo from the BDC. Lori, are you able to unmute?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the call, and thanks, Tom, once again for putting this together. So as you can imagine, the federal minister announced back on March 13th that BDC and Export Development Canada were going to be involved in helping businesses and helping entrepreneurs with working capital costs. The response has been overwhelming. So we're here to help. If you go to the City of Sault Ste. Marie website, our coordinates are all on there. There is financing available for under 100. It's an online application that you can do yourself. Anything from 100 to 2 million, you reach out to an account manager, and me and my colleague Nadia, our contact information is on the city website. What we're asking at this time, however, is every business has an existing relationship with a financial institution, and we're asking that you reach out to that financial institution first. I've talked to all of them. I know that they're there on an individual basis, and they are offering different products, whether it's an increase to a line of credit or an overdraft. Again, they're looking at it on an individual basis, but we're asking that you reach out to your financial institution. If there is not enough support from there, please have them refer you to us here at the BDC. And again, we're looking at them one at a time. We're just asking for patience because it has overwhelmed our system. That's it from the BDC, Tom.
Great, thanks, Lori. And we thought we would tag team a bit in talking about the call yesterday. The Community Development Corporation has a number of loan products as well, and we'll have Dan Freya just speak to those programs. Dan, we did have a comment on the chat line as well that mentioned the CRB is great aid for individuals. This will help pay my personal mortgage, but for business, there's no aid like that to help rent, tax, utilities. Will there be aid for that? Our business has zero revenue due to shutdown, and maybe you can address that as well when you talk about your comments.
Okay, thanks, Tom. As you say, I'm with the Community Development Corporation of Sault Ste. Marie and area. That's a good question, and that's probably the top of mind question that I'm dealing with right now. So I can report a few different things that have occurred since our last call, and they're consistent with that question and comment. For the existing Community Development Corporation clients, like a lot of institutions, we have waived our interest and principal payments now for 6 months, recognizing a fair amount of time it's going to take for the situation to become normal. So that's a very positive thing. I met with my board of directors and got authority to do some of these things. The second thing, respecting the question that was asked and others who may be thinking about this, one of the things we can do fairly quickly is we can do working capital loans up to $50,000, which is my limit. And in those products, we would look at 0 payments for 6 months at 0% interest. Then hopefully we'll be through the other end of this, but I anticipate still some recovery time. So for the next 18 months, so I'm going way down the road now, but we would charge a rate of about 3%. And then taking you out 2 years, then hopefully we'll be normal, and we'll go back to a normal market rate at that time. So that particular design is our best effort to anticipate the cash flow situation coming out of this. So that client, and that I think is a woman who asked that question. So we would look at their previous financial statements. Of course, they would make an application online at our website, ssmcdc.com. And then we would ask them to create a budget, a cash flow budget for the next 3 to 6 months, depending on their circumstance. And with that information, we would determine how much of assistance they required, and then we would set up that loan facility. You can do the same deal beyond the $50,000, but then I have an investment review committee, so it goes to there's an added step to the process, so it takes a wee bit longer. From our perspective, and hopefully we're having a call with FedNor momentarily to touch base on what Mr. Sheehan had said, financial resources, but also human resources. There's 2 of us here that are fielding all these calls. So we'd like to add at least one more person going forward. So hopefully that addresses the woman's question and other people that are out there. Certainly, I'd be happy to speak to them. They can call me on the telephone or send us an email. The application goes directly to our email accounts, and we see them immediately when people apply. So that's, in a nutshell, Tom, what we are doing.
It's great, Dan. Thank you. Sorry, I was just unmuting my microphone there as well. Appreciate that update, and I think that's a great offering. So as Dan outlined, you can visit the CDC website, and there's some great assistance that can be provided in the near term for business clients. At this time, I was just going to open up the mic. Rory Ring from the Chamber of Commerce. Rory, if you're able to unmute and provide an update from the Chamber, that would be great.
Super. Are you able to hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Awesome. So I'll just give you an idea of where we have been putting our efforts. A lot of it has been in terms of the advocacy, and many of the things that you've seen come out as programs to support business have been generated through not only just the Canadian Chamber of Commerce and the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, but partnering up with CFIB, Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters, and a variety of business associations and industry associations across Canada. So that network is being finalized in a formal sense, and will be coming out with a website hopefully in the next few days. If you are a member of any of those organizations, and you'll be able to see sort of a centralized resource of the advocacy efforts that are happening there. So from a provincial side, we are looking at advocating with the government to provide rent relief in some form or another for small businesses, and to work with commercial landlords to develop potentially an emergency fund to assist those landlords, but also looking to advocate to the government on the property tax issues to work towards actual forgiveness and have the province support the municipalities in their ability to do that. So that would certainly help avoid any large balloon payment that would be required at the end of this pandemic crisis. We're also making sure that we are looking at this $5,000 minimal hurdle rate, and seeing if we can provide any guidance in terms of some flexibility on that, but also the 30% hurdle on the wage subsidy. Many businesses have very different operating cycles, seasonality, so we continue to work with the federal government and trying to adjust that. And also working with the federal government in terms of trying to shorten out that 6-week application period. Small businesses need cash flow now, and the 6-week period is just not realizable for many of our small and micro-sized businesses. So we're continuing on that front. Back to the provincial side, I think today you'll see an announcement on essential, non-essential businesses from the province that will primarily focus on the construction industry, and how they will limit the projects that are going on there to really those that are servicing healthcare. We do not know how it will affect new home build, excuse me, but certainly will affect some of the projects that are happening here in our own community right now. Also, I just want to turn your attention, if I can, to both the Canadian Chamber website and the Ontario Chamber website. The Canadian Chamber, chamber.ca, they will, hopefully by the end of this week, have a microsite as well, COVID-19 Business Resilience. But you can go to that site now and see a significant number of resources there. There's some technical briefings that happen through our network. There's the government programs and resources for business. There are resources and toolkits, and many of these things from right across our network. Federation of Canadian Municipalities, there's also some updates there for our municipal partners, and resources from accounting, from BlackBerry on remote work from home systems and processes, and some of the things that you do need to keep yourself abreast of. Resources from Deloitte. There's also the NGEN's COVID-19 response program, which is funding support for companies launching production of critical products to fight COVID-19. So if you're involved in that space, there are some funds available there. And a shout out to Maker North, who's doing some work around providing shields for our health professionals. Also, a lot of employment resources there in terms of how do you handle your employees during this crisis, and just a great list of available resources there. On the Ontario Chamber of Commerce website, occ.ca, there is a pandemic preparedness toolkit. There is a summary of our advocacy. There's a government news update. But I want to highlight two elements here. There is a mental health tab there. Obviously, in isolation or whether you're working from home, your mental health is a critical component of keeping your business and your operations going. So I certainly would recommend your attendance to that and look at those resources. There's also a number of resources that are available there for working remote or work from home scenarios. So again, there's terrific resources available to you there, and we definitely know how important it is to ensure that we have our systems in place, we protect our data, and make sure we look after the mental health of ourselves as well as our employees. So again, I just want to suggest that you keep in touch with us on social media. We have opened our communications channels for any business in Sault Ste. Marie that is looking to post any specials, any change to operations, and they can contact our office here, 705-949-7152, and speak to Bob, or they can email bob at ssmcoc.com. Also, I'm available as well for any critical issues that you think need to be addressed and that we can advocate for on your behalf. So we continue to plug along. We partnered with a project In This Together, hashtag In This Together, with Soo Online, and we're looking to feature our business community with positive messaging and little video vignettes. So if you wish to participate in that, you can get a hold of myself here at the Chamber. Again, 705-949-7152. Your best bet is my cell phone at 705-255-4361. And email rory@ssmcoc.com. And we work together with our economic development partners and our city partners to make sure that we're promoting a shop local presence, but also we'll be looking to plan ahead in terms of what we need to do as a recovery plan. So continue to work forward in that. We may see the extension of our workplace closures out into the end of April, into early May potentially, as we know that the schools have delayed their get back to school programming to the beginning of May. So please give us a shout. Any concerns, anything you need us to do in terms of support for your business, we're here to help you, and that's any business, not just our membership. We understand, again, like the program we're doing, we're all in this together, and we need to make sure that we come out of this strong. Thanks very much.
Great, thanks very much, appreciate it. And we have, we're just coming up to the hour here. We've got a quick update from Jim McLean at the PUC. Jim, can I ask you to unmute your microphone?
Good morning. Can you hear me, Tom?
Yes, we can. Thanks.
Excellent. So first of all, yes, I will be brief. I wanted to first thank you and the organizers for the forum to speak here. I think this is a fabulous support for the community. So thanks for that. Thanks to the speakers. I continue to learn something every time I come on this call. And thanks to the participants for their great questions. So PUC is continuing to work with all the communities along the North Shore and Northwestern Ontario, and specifically Sault Ste. Marie, to keep the water running keep the power on, and certainly to take away the wastewater and treat it effectively. So everything that we're doing with regard to not only our customer interaction, but our interaction and maintenance processes are guided by the public health authorities, and certainly a tremendous amount of thought has gone into maintaining the essential services that we provide. So really for today, I just had a couple of things that I wanted to make everybody aware of. The first, you may have noticed a press release earlier in the week regarding a phone scam. So there is a phone scam out there that we're warning all of our customers about. Beware of calls from a 1-800 number who are pretending to be us and demanding immediate payment for utilities and or threatening disconnection. So you will hopefully recall over the last couple of weeks we've talked about the moratorium on disconnections and the financial flexibility that we're trying to offer to the community. So hopefully nobody falls for that, but do tell your friends, tell your family. If you hear of that, do let us know. We put out an anti-fraud center link as well early in the week, so there's that available for you. Secondarily, not secondarily, but equally, I wanted to speak briefly about some things that are occurring now as a result of the pandemic, particularly, but linked to cleaning. There's been a notable increase, obviously, in the purchase and use of things like sanitary wipes, paper towels, disinfecting products in general. We're urging customers to, as they make use of these items, dispose of them in the garbage. Any of those products are great for the garbage, but please do not dispose of them in your toilets. So flushing that kind of material can cause huge issues for the sewer system. It may well cause sewer backups in your home or your business. It's really only built to handle human waste and toilet paper. Anything else can cause clogs and disrupt the entire wastewater system. So normally we clean screens several times a week, a little bit more in the spring as the water runoff happens. But at the moment, we're physically cleaning these screens much, much more often, multiple times a day, which obviously puts our employees and our staff at a bit of risk, but it also impacts the entire infrastructure. The equipment is not equipped to handle this kind of stuff. Even if it says flushable, it is not flushable. So please do not do that. And I would ask everybody on the line to be aware of this, advocate for it amongst your cleaning staff, friends, family, and the like, so on, because at the end of the day, once these things clog up, it's not a really great situation, as you can imagine, and there's potential for backups in homes and businesses. So please be aware of that, please be guided by that, and ultimately that will help us keep the wastewater flowing properly. So just wanted to close off there. I'm going to put our normal contact numbers on the chat line. Remember, if you have any questions, concerns, any financial questions or concerns, feel free to access us. If you notice outages or emergencies, feel free to access the emergency line there. Once again, thanks. Would reiterate our commitments, keep the city safe from a water, wastewater, and power point of view. Thanks, Tom.
Great, thank you, Jim, and those were important updates, so we appreciate that. Again, everyone, we appreciate you dialing into the call. We wanted to, again, just end off by making sure everyone knows about the business support hotline. If you have any further questions, our number is 705-574-1230. Also, the email address, businessinfo@cityssm.on.ca. We're happy to take your questions and help you navigate these new programs and the support as best we can. And as has been said a number of times here on the call, certainly we're in this together. We are looking for ways that we can create awareness and support our local businesses. Dan Hollingsworth touched on earlier an initiative we'll have launched shortly But if you have any thoughts or ideas, please feel free to send them to us at those email addresses as well. And also just wanted to say to folks, a reminder on the health side that we are, the critical thing is to continue to stay at home and to continue to follow this so that we can emerge from this situation and get back to business in the near term. Thank you very much for participating today. Again, please feel free to send through your questions and information to us at 705-574-1230 or businessinfo@cityssm.on.ca. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.